You're going to listen to David Crystal, an English linguist, reflecting on some topics. First of all, watch the video with subtitles. Pause the recording as many times as necessary.
Asking about the future of language is that way madness lies. Who would have predicted 1,000 years ago that Latin would no longer be used in 1,000 years' time? By hardly anybody. You know, I mean, obviously Latin is still used in certain circumstances, but it would not be the normal education to be fluent in Latin. If you'd said that 1,000 years ago, people would have said you were mad. So, in 1,000 years' time, will English still be a global language? We could all be speaking Martian by then, if they land and take over. You know, who knows what's going to happen? To ask about the future of language is to really ask about the future of society. And futurologists are just as unclear about what will happen eventually as I am about language. Because language, you see, is global for one reason only, and that is the power of the people who speak it. Power always drives language. There is no other reason to speak somebody else's language other than you want to improve your quality of life, or you want to influence them in some way, or whatever it might be. I mean, the tradition in English, of course, English became global for a whole variety of reasons. First of all, the power of the British Empire. Later, the power of American imperialism. Later, in the 17th century, the power of the Industrial Revolution, which meant that the language of science and technology became English predominantly. In the 19th century, the power of money talks, and the two most productive nations of the world were Britain and America, both using English. So the language of international banking became the pound and the dollar, English once again. And then in the 20th century, cultural power, as you all know, because every aspect of culture you've encountered has some sort of history in the English language, like pop songs, for example, international advertising, air traffic control, the development of radio and television, the development of the internet, 100% an English language medium when it started. Though today, only a fraction of the internet is English. Internet has become multilingual. So, what's going to happen next? English will stay a global language as long as certain things happen. First of all, that the nations that are recognized as the most powerful nations in the world continue to use English, and all the other nations want to be like them, or want to interact with them, or want to sell things to them, and so on. And so English will stay like that for as long as those nations retain that kind of power. And we're talking mainly America here, aren't we? Predominantly. On the other hand, it doesn't take it isn't rocket science to think of scenarios where, for whatever reason, American power diminishes, the power of some other nations grows, and you get other parts of the world becoming more dominant. And, you know, people say, well, what about Chinese? Well, one day maybe. At the moment, there's no sign of China wanting Chinese to be a global language, because they're all learning English in China, for the most part. But you could imagine a scenario where it was the other way around. You can imagine a scenario when Spanish is the fastest growing language in the world at the moment, population-wise, because of South America and Central America, and increasingly in North America, Spanish is becoming very widely used. You can imagine a scenario where one day we might all end up speaking Spanish. In another scenario, you can imagine one day we might all end up speaking Arabic, for reasons that are perfectly obvious to anybody who looks at the world. So all of these things could happen. At the moment, there's no sign of a diminution in the prestige of English, the desire to learn English. The figures are going up and up and up every year. At the moment, over 2 billion people speak English. There's never been so many people speaking one language before, and there's no sign of any slackening off in that progress. So the long-term future, no idea. The short-term future, no change.
And for people who ask